My children laughed at me when I pulled up in my old car. "Mom, that thing belongs in a museum," they joked, rolling their eyes. It stung, because that car had carried me through years of hard work, sacrifice, and memories they couldn't understand. But life has a way of surprising people. When their cousin's birthday came around, I handed over the keys to a brand new car worth $50,000. Tell me, have you ever been mocked for something simple, only for the truth to flip the story upside down? Stay with me. That old car was more than just a vehicle. It was a piece of my life. A faded blue sedan with over 150,000 miles, scratches on the bumper, and a radio that sometimes crackled more than it sang. To my children, it was a relic, a rolling embarrassment. To me, it was history. I bought it 20 years ago, back when money was tight and every decision had to be practical. That car drove me to double shifts, carried groceries home when every dollar mattered, and sat in the driveway through nights when I prayed the bills would stretch just a little further. It was reliable, solid, a companion through storms and sunshine. But my children didn't see any of that. They only saw what was missing. No fancy touchscreen, no leather seats, no shiny rims. Every family outing, they would make a joke. "Careful, Mom. Don't let the car fall apart before we get there." Laughter followed, sometimes playful, sometimes sharper. I'd smile weakly, but inside, it hurt. Because behind every dent and scratch was a story they'd never asked about. One evening, after dinner, they gathered in the living room, scrolling on their phones. My oldest son looked up and said, "You know, Mom, you should really just give up that old thing. Sell it for scrap. Everyone else has moved on." I set down my cup of tea, feeling the sting of his words. "Maybe I like my car," I replied softly. They laughed again, as if I had told a joke. But what they didn't know was this. I wasn't holding on because I couldn't afford better. Over the years, I had saved. Quietly, carefully. Investments I never bragged about. A nest egg I kept for when the time felt right. And that time was coming. Because while my children laughed, their cousin Jacob had been walking to work every morning, rain or shine. He never asked for rides, never complained, just saved his paychecks and kept going. I saw in him the same grit I once had. So when his birthday approached, I made a decision. I would give him the gift I never gave my own children, a start, a chance, something that said, "I see your effort, and I honor it." What my children didn't realize was that sometimes appreciation matters more than bloodline. And soon the laughter they threw at me over my old car would come back to them in a way they never expected. The day of Jacob's birthday arrived, bright and clear. The family gathered in my backyard, tables filled with food, balloons swaying gently in the breeze, and voices overlapping in cheerful chatter. My children were there too, lounging under the shade, laughing as usual. They expected the same old kind of gift from me, maybe a card, maybe something practical. They never imagined what was parked just down the street. After the cake was cut and the candles blown out, I stood up. "Jacob," I said, my voice steady, "I have something for you." He smiled politely, probably expecting a sweater or a gift card. But when I reached into my pocket and dangled a set of keys, the chatter around the table stopped. "Keys?" Jacob blinked, confused. I motioned for him to follow me. Everyone trailed behind as I led him down the driveway. And there it was, a brand new, gleaming car. The sun bounced off its polished surface, chrome shining, interior still smelling of fresh leather. $50,000 worth of hard work, savings, and quiet planning. Jacob froze, his jaw dropping. This isn't for me, is it?" I placed the keys into his trembling hand. "Yes, it is. You've worked so hard, and you've never asked for anything. I want you to have a real chance. Consider this my way of saying, I see you." For a long moment, he didn't move. Then his eyes filled with tears. He hugged me tightly, whispering, "Thank you. You don't know what this means." But behind us, I heard the sharp intake of breath from my children. "Wait, what?" my daughter exclaimed. "You bought him a brand new car?" My oldest son stepped forward, disbelief etched across his face. "Mom, are you serious? You're still driving around in that old clunker and you give him this?" Their voices rose, overlapping, frustration spilling out. They looked at me as if I had betrayed them. I turned to face them, my voice calm but firm. "Yes, I gave it to him, because he's earned it." Jacob has been working hard, walking to his job every day without complaint. He never mocked what he didn't have. He respected what he did. And that matters. Their faces burned with shock. And beneath it, guilt. Mom, my daughter started, but her voice faltered. I took a deep breath. You laughed at my car. The one that carried me through raising you, feeding you, keeping this family afloat. You mocked the very thing that symbolized sacrifice. Jacob never did that. And now he has something new because he understood the value of what others overlook. Silence fell heavy. Jacob, still holding the keys, looked torn between joy and discomfort, but I squeezed his shoulder. Don't feel guilty. This is yours. You deserve it. As the family stood in stunned silence, the message was clear. My children's laughter had cost them something far more valuable than a shiny new car. And in that moment, they realized their mocking words had spoken louder than they ever intended. The silence didn't last long. My son threw up his hands, his face red with anger. This is unbelievable, Mom. You're rewarding him while we, your own kids, get nothing? How does that make any sense? My daughter chimed in, her tone sharp. We're your children. We should come first. How could you humiliate us like this in front of everyone? Their words stung, but I stood my ground. Humiliation? Number. This isn't about embarrassment. This is about respect. You laughed at the car that kept this family alive. Jacob didn't. He appreciated effort, and that's why he's standing here with keys in his hand. They exchanged glances, caught between outrage and disbelief. Finally, my youngest muttered, So what? You love him more than us. I stepped closer, my voice firm, but gentle. No, but love doesn't excuse disrespect. I raised you with that car. Every scratch on it came from a trip to the doctor, a late-night grocery run, or driving you to school when we couldn't afford anything else. That car is history. Sacrifice. Love. And you mocked it? The weight of my words seemed to hang in the air. My children shifted uncomfortably, their anger softening into something else. Shame. Jacob looked uneasy, glancing between us. Auntie, maybe I shouldn't... I cut him off with a smile. No, Jacob. This is yours. Don't let their feelings steal your joy. You've earned this with humility and hard work. My son lowered his eyes, his voice quieter. We didn't think about it like that, Mom. We just saw the car and thought it was funny. We didn't realize how much it meant to you. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. You never asked. You assumed old meant worthless. But sometimes the things that look small carry the biggest weight. For the first time in years, my children had no comeback. Their voices softened, their anger dissolving into guilt. My daughter finally spoke, her words trembling. We were wrong about the car. And about you. I nodded slowly. I don't need apologies. I just need you to understand. Life isn't about shiny things. It's about gratitude. Jacob understood that. That's why he's driving away today with a car worth $50,000. The lesson hung heavy, undeniable. My children weren't just embarrassed in front of the family. They were confronted with their own blind spots, their own lack of appreciation. And as Jacob started the engine, the smooth purr filling the driveway, I could see the realization dawning on their faces. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about the car. It was about respect, gratitude, and the danger of mocking what you don't understand. That night, as everyone left, my children were unusually quiet. No jokes, no complaints, just silence. And in their silence, I knew the message had landed. Sometimes the hardest lessons aren't spoken, they're shown. The days after Jacob drove away in his new car were quiet, too quiet. My children didn't bring up the scene from the party, and I didn't press, but I could see it written on their faces. Reflection, maybe even regret. One evening, my oldest son came over. No sarcasm, no jokes, just him standing in the doorway, hands shoved deep into his pockets. Mom, he began, hesitant, can I take a drive with you? In your old car? I raised an eyebrow, surprised, but nodded. We climbed in. The engine coughed a little before humming to life, just like it always had. We drove down the familiar streets in silence until he finally spoke. You were right, he said quietly. I never thought about what this car meant. I only saw the outside. But now, I get it. The sincerity in his voice melted something inside me. I patted his hand on the console. That's all I ever wanted. For you to see, not just laugh, later that week, my daughter stopped by. She had brought groceries, nothing fancy, just a thoughtful gesture. She set them on the counter and sighed. Mom, I've been thinking. I didn't like how you gave Jacob that car. But now I understand why. He appreciates things we've taken for granted. I looked at her carefully. She wasn't making excuses. She was admitting fault. I want to do better, she added softly. I want to show you I value what you've done for us. Her words warmed me more than any gift could. As weeks turned into months, the teasing stopped. No more jokes about the car, no more rolling eyes. Instead, they asked me about the stories behind it, the road trips, the struggles, the little victories. And I told them, one by one, until they began to see not just a dented old vehicle, but the journey it carried us through. Meanwhile, Jacob visited often, always careful to thank me. He took care of his car like it was treasure, washing it, keeping it spotless, driving it with pride. Each time he'd say, Auntie, this car isn't just transportation. It's proof that someone believed in me. And that, I realized, was the difference. My children had expected things, but Jacob had appreciated them. One Sunday afternoon, as I sat in the driveway with my tea, both of my kids came over. They looked at me, then at each other before my daughter spoke. Mom, we just want to say, we're sorry. For the jokes, for not seeing what mattered. We understand now, I smiled, tears welling. That's all I needed. Not the laughter, not the cars. Just your understanding. In that moment, I knew the lesson had sunk in. Not through scolding, not through lectures, but through life itself. Sometimes the best way to teach gratitude isn't with words, it's with actions that cannot be ignored. And as I looked at my children, finally seeing respect in their eyes, I thought to myself, the old car still runs, but the real journey, the one toward appreciation, had just begun. In the end, it wasn't about the old car or the new one. It was about respect, something that costs nothing but means everything. My children learned that mocking what carried them through life only blinded them to the love behind it. Jacob, on the other hand, showed gratitude, and that opened the door to blessings he never expected. I may still drive my old sedan, dents and all, but now, when my kids see it, they no longer laugh. They remember. So I'll ask you this. Have you ever had something in your life that others mocked, only for its true value to shine later? What did it teach you about gratitude? Share your thoughts below, and stay with us for more stories where small things carry the biggest lessons.